Little catch up from the orchard. It's the 24th of August today. This is a tree I grafted last year, and this is interesting. This particular tree, I can't remember what variety it was, but it wasn't doing us any good. I decided to graft it over to Quarrenden, which is one of our rarest varieties. You can see there's a, I think that's it. Yeah, so that's a rind graft there, and there's another rind graft, and done quite well. So I'll have a little bit of I'll have a very small, very precious small amount of Quarrenden wood. Anyway, yeah, it's our first Winchester Farmers Market of the year, yesterday. Normally we'd have started before now, but everything is 3 to 4 weeks late this year because of the horribly cold early start to the frozen March. This is one of the most famous of all English apples. This is Ribston Pippin, and these trees are much happier since I've cut down the row of trees on either side of them. I've given them more space, and they've just become less difficult to manage, and they're carrying possibly the best crop they've ever carried, simply for being given more space. That's a lesson. And we're picking this tree over today. This is one of our rare varieties. We've only got one of this particular variety, and I know they're perfectly ripe because I ate one in the week, and this is Devonshire Quarrenden. This is an early apple that ought to be grown more than it is. That one's a bit deformed. Should we take that for a taster or put that in Jez's box?
Yeah, that'd be alright as a taster.
Yeah, we always cut apples up for people to have a taste.
The flesh is sound, it's just an ugly, isn't it?
Yeah. Not as ugly as some things. But yeah, these are, again, the thing about early apples, is that they don't keep very long. The apples which are ripe as early as this, I mean it's now the 24th of August. When would these normally be ripe, Julia, these Devonshire Quarrendens?
We're running about 3 weeks late at the moment,
yeah.
So probably early August normally for us.
Yeah, I mean this is, I think, a really nice early apple. I must tell you a story about very early apples, not this one particularly, but an apple called Beauty of Bath. Now,
oh, there's some over there. Go and film them.
All right. Yeah, I'll just do that. Yeah, this is the section that this used to be all Bramleys down here, but we're. Pardon me. I'm just a bit of a scatterbrain, as you know. There's so much to sort of look at. This is the oldest part of the orchard. These are the oldest trees in the orchard, and these are some cider apples. So a few of them are being propped up. This is Yarlington Mill, one of the most generally useful cider apples. And next to it is Tremlett's Bitter, which is strictly biennial. We only ever get a crop from this every other year, but this year it's carrying a very good crop. This was Bramley down here. We've just got 2 Bramleys left for various reasons, but this what essentially was a rare varieties and Bramley. Sorry, I'm rambling here. It used to be Bramley down here. We planted a few rare varieties and we're getting rid of them. This is Beauty of Bath. This is an apple, I've got to say, I can't recommend people to grow, really. We got asked about Beauty of Bath more than any other apple. The old timers at the orchard would say, oh, got any Beauty of Bath? More than any other apple this was asked for. Anyway, we planted some, and eventually we had a couple of trees of it, and then we took them to market and we couldn't sell them. Well, that's bizarre. The texture, straight from the tree, it's a bit mealy and soft. As you can see, most of them are on the ground. It's quite sour. It's fully ripe. You can see it's ripe because they're falling. They're mainly fallen. We can't sell these. They could go for cider, but they make very, very inferior cider. And you can add them to bulk it up. But it's sour. It's edible, and it's an apple. I can't eat it with much pleasure. How did Beauty of Bath become so iconic? Well, it's a good name. It's a nice name. It's a very attractive apple. And it ripens very early. I mean, you've got to admit, this is a very attractive apple. It's traditionally the very first apple to ripen. And the people who were asking us for Beauty of Bath, with longing in their eyes, were older people. Now, I'm 57. I can just remember when refrigerators started to become widely available. And people older than me, obviously, lived in a time before you had widespread refrigeration. Certainly before you had the globalised apple trade, that we've got, and the ability to keep apples in a semi-fresh state for up to a year. So the English apples were all finished by April, probably at the latest. And Beauty of Bath became available in August, which, as you'll recall, coincides with the school holidays. So people aged 70 or older remember a time when the very first apple that you had eaten for 3 months or so was a Beauty of Bath, because it was the first apple to ripen. And they hadn't eaten any apples at all for months, probably, because you didn't have the globalised international summertime all the year round, a harvest time all the year round that you've got now, where people can get crunchy, sweet apples from the supermarket 365 days a year. You have what was fresh in the shops, what was seasonal, and so Beauty of Bath, it coincided with the summer school holidays, and it was the first apple people had had for ages, and so people have got happy memories of it. But when we actually gave them Beauty of Bath apples, they tasted it and said, ugh, doesn't taste of much, does it? It's sour, oh, and it's all mushy as well, it's mushy. I hate it when they say that, as if we'd done something horrible to the apple deliberately. But they are naturally a soft apple, most early apples are. But the Devonshire Quarrenden, let's get to pick one up off the ground, taking great care to avoid being stung by a wasp. It's at least as good looking an apple, it's a different apple, but it's a better texture, it's sweeter, it's got a better flavour in every way for an early apple. It's not really quite as early as Beauty of Bath, but Devonshire Quarrenden are very much better apple than Beauty of Bath. I cannot recommend Beauty of Bath. I do not recommend anybody grows that apple other than for heritage reasons, or if you actually like a sour, soft apple that will only keep for about a week after you pick it. It's better than Discovery, but that's not saying much. I don't like Discovery. A much better apple, Devonshire Quarrenden. We don't know why it's called Quarrenden. There are two theories. One is it's something to do with 40 days, quarantine. 40 days, I don't know. This doesn't really keep for 40 days, does it, would you say?
No. 2 weeks maximum.
Yeah. It's a Beauty of Bath goes soft within days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I've just had a look at the tree. They're
even soft on the tree now.
Well, 3/4 of them are on the ground. I've just eaten one. I've just bitten into one straight from the tree, and it's soft from the tree. Yeah. So people have happy memories of Beauty of Bath, but when people actually bite into one, they don't like it. So I'm not here to say that all old apples. I'm not saying everything that's old is necessarily good. Some of it is, and I'm not saying that Beauty of Bath should go extinct, but we've got one tree of it, and it's in the way. It's going to be cleared out because I'm turning this whole section over to cider down here. This tree itself will actually go, because that's a cider tree grafted there, and that's a newly planted cider tree. That's a Michelin, some Ashridge trees, and this is a lovely, shapely tree. It's growing very nicely. This tree is giving us a crop, so we will crop this for another 2 or 3 years, but then we will cut it down when it gets in the way of this. Do not fear, we will have grafted. Have we got another one coming on somewhere?
We've got one which I believe is the same variety, which I actually got from somebody's garden. It's an old variety. But we're going to eat one today just to be sure. It's fruiting today, so we'll just check. Good.
This is a much nicer apple than Beauty of Bath, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Devonshire.
I don't like Beauty of Bath at all. I wouldn't
No.
look at it now.
Well, there you are. So, memory can deceive. In our opinion, Oh, sorry, I interrupted myself. Devonshire Quarrenden. The other theory, it's nothing to do with 40 days, but that this particular variety, Devonshire Quarrenden, is named for the Normandy village of Quarrenden, which is in part of the lovely apple-growing region of Normandy. Oh, you know, a good mind to get down to Normandy, you know, for a few days in the harvest. Funny, we haven't had any wasps much this year, but we've decided appearing, haven't they?
Population explosion.
Yeah, we need to get some wasp traps up. That's another job to do today. Let's get the old jam out and the wasp traps. All right, that's enough rambling from the orchard. So I'll just a last beauty shot of the delightful Ribston pippin, and greetings to my friend Andrea in Italy, who has successfully grafted some Ribston pippins over there. One of the most important apples of English apple heritage, and one which, unlike the beauty of Bath, does deserve to be widely grown, the Ribston pippin. And I'll finish by saying one last thing. I have discouraged people from attempting to raise a new apple variety from a pip, but if you must do it, then Ribston pippin would be a very good starting point. Ribston pippin obviously is the parent of Cox. Cox is the parent of many other excellent apples, and Ribston pippin has actually proved to be genetically a very interesting apple, and has given rise to more, you know, has fathered and grandfathered, or mothered and grandmothered if you prefer, more really very high quality apples probably than almost anything. I would say probably a quarter of our apple varieties that we have in this orchard, I'll do a calculation sometime, probably a quarter of our apple varieties have got a genetic inheritance from Ribston pippin. This is an old apple that was raised, I think, in Yorkshire.
Stephen,
yeah.
how about picking some apples?
You're all right. It was raised in Yorkshire about 200 odd years ago, believed to be from a pip that was brought over from France. Anyway, I better go and do some work, I'll be in trouble.